Beautiful soul family, soul tribe, bringers of change. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am emerging from the chrysalis. Yet my eyes are continuing to be sensitive in my communication to light and to clearly transcribing the information that I desire to share with you in this space today. So I am aware that my eyes will be opening and closing to assist in the reading and expression of this transmission. And this transmission is for parents, it's for children, it's for the awareness of our innocent ones and the undercurrents and underlying multidimensional and quantum distortions that are going on as to many of the confusions in mainstream society that are taking place within our young sensitive souls. As you're arriving into this space, arrive into this space with presence, arrive into this space with an open heart, arrive into this space by just feeling and grounding into your body, allowing yourself to just gonna fine-tune my channel. Allowing yourself to witness what is really within your vessel, within your being at this present time. Allowing the energy that is alive inside of you to be acknowledged and loved. And when you arrive in, taking 3 deep breaths to receive this from a place of an open heart, from awareness and from a place of empowerment and not fear. It's very interesting as there is currently no viewers, which makes me curious to see what my settings are. And what is taking place in the realms of expression, communication, and interference. Clearing any interference to this live video. Anywhere that this video is being censored, downgraded in the algorithms, and intentionally diverted from the individuals that are to receive this message. As I call in the souls that need to receive this, as I call in and bring forth the beings that are in requirement of this information and this activation. So if you're arriving in, please make a comment so that this can reach the soul tribe, the soul fam that are ready to hear this message. Interactive, allows the energy exchange to take place and for the expansion of the energetic transmission that is this expression to be gifted out to those that are ready to receive. Going into the transmission of what this is, and this is talking about highly sensitive beings. So highly sensitive children are children that come in with a frequency that is challenged in the physical material world. They are challenged to feel and express themselves in the density of their vessel. Their vessels have often been genetically engineered. Their DNA structures have been influenced and changed, either removing genetics and DNA micro and macro duplications, whilst also shifting and changing the neural pathways within children. Many of the bringers of change, including you if you're watching this, have had your genetics and your DNA structure altered. This alteration has taken place from the beginning of conception. Conception, where the spirit essence is chosen to manifest in physical form in the body of a woman. There is a point of realization from a much higher multidimensional understanding that these alterations take place to the being. The bringers of change have come here to bring through frequencies, codes, and are here on specific missions in reincarnation to assist in the shift in humanity. The challenge is that in our society, and the mainstream understanding is that anything that does not fit the box of what is the normal is then targeted and suppressed and wronged. So without going into too much information in that, these different vessels that these consciousnesses are coming in on are their children that are highly sensitive. They may be on the spectrum. They may have tics, Tourette's. They may have ADHD. They may have disassociation or off with the fairies. There are many different expressions of how this comes through for our children. And our children are the ones that are requiring the most assistance to not go through the trauma cycles that some of us, you or I, have gone through. Being a HSP, if you want to label it, I was a child that would be considered autistic, as well as having ADHD and different behavioural societal problems, a lack of focus, and a high level of disassociation. And this level of being was not supported in the understanding of what happens when you are a highly tuned, when you're a being of a high frequency coming from the future or from different dimensions to bring in technology and information to assist in the awakening of the human collective. There is a misunderstanding of how that consciousness is housed in the physical body. And as the physical body is dense in comparison to the frequency and the vibration of the individual, there is a discord that takes place. Many don't know how to be themselves in physical matter. They don't know how to express. They don't know how to focus and make sense of the extreme amounts of information that are being received. So if you imagine some of these children are what we would call conduits, a highly sensitive child, and they're geniuses. They come through with engineer minds. They come through with technologies around frequency and vibration. They're talented in music. They are amazing in art therapies, creative expressions, and they're here to show a new way, and they're here to show a way that is beyond the communication of the cognitive human mind, and that's why there is a wrongness that's created. Many of these beautiful beings are here to express and to show through frequency and vibration, and to bring through different ways, different paradigms, and different expressions of truth. And these different expressions of truth are here as a gift, yet what is taking place currently is the suppression and the wrongness of this gift and further disassociation from it. And these children are boxed as having behavioural issues, having learning difficulties, having emotional stresses or sensory problems. Maybe they even have physical anatomy. The physical structures of the vessel can be seen as having low muscle tone or abnormalities. And these abnormalities are what are focused on by the mainstream society. And instead of focusing on what is actually there, and it is not a disability, and there is nothing wrong with these children, they're actually misunderstood. And they're misunderstood because our cognitive mind is extremely distorted in conditioning of what's actually taking place. And what is important around this transmission is the understanding of the sensitivity. So if you come through, and this is for the individual bringers of change that are in adult form at that point of receiving this transmission, this will be helpful for you also to understand yourself, is that the suppression is taking place from the moment of being created into the physical experience. And the suppression comes in many forms, and psychic attack is one of them. And there is an awareness that some of the things that are taking place, and I've been working with children a lot more lately, and there is a massive amount of children going through activations, through remembrance, but not having the cognitive understanding or awareness or support network to support their gifts coming online. And their gifts are coming online because the more that these adults, the more that we as our more aged vessels are activating our own remembrance, and we are going through past timelines of remembering and initiating ourselves into our gifts, our path, our mission, our purpose. This has a ripple effect whether or not we are aware of it. So if you're going through an initiation, if you're going through remembrance, and you have children in your direct field, they are at the ripple effect of this. So they are receiving these initiations in the quantum field. They are receiving it in their dream state. And yet there is a cognitive dissonance and disconnection and suffering point that is taking place because they are not being supported in what is taking place. And how this manifests for many children is through behavioural problems, through learning difficulties, through sickness, through tantrums, through fears of sleep, through irritability, through disconnect, suppression, and the understanding of this is important, and to see it from a place of kindness, love, and not from a place of fear. But our children are sensitive. They're the innocent ones, and they are vulnerable. They do not have the capacity to protect themselves, and most parents are not protecting their children in a level of psychic or light protection. And that what is taking place is that when there's vulnerability, which is mostly during sleep, there is influences that take place. And these influences manifest in different ways. And whether or not we like to admit it, there are many beings that are walking around with demonic attachments, entities, and the more narcissistic, bipolar, or the borderline personalities, and the different unstable emotional behaviors in parents are being triggered and influenced by different technologies. So there are technologies that are influencing beings' mental health and behavior in parents. So that means excessive and aggressive outbursts. And I believe that every single one of you has experienced a moment in time where you've looked at someone and they've morphed in front of you. Their eyes have changed, their energy has changed, and or perhaps you have. And you're like, that was out of character, who was that? Who was that? And those are the moments in ourselves and in the caregivers of our children that are important to recognize that there are influences that are taking place that are at the effect of causing fear and projection onto children to be suppressed into lack of authentic creative expression. And so many of the children at the moment are activating, and what's happening is in this activation of remembrance, they are also having the challenge of physical pain to distract, or certain thought forms that are causing behavioural outbursts. And there's also the awareness that these children are sensitive. So what they are doing is they're going through without the understanding that they are healers, without the understanding that they are conduits, without the understanding that they have connection to infinite streams of information. And they are gathering up the distortions into their bodies, and they are not being transmuted. So these children are being the healers of the world, yet they are making themselves sick because they don't know how to discharge the negative ions and the negative expression from their field. This manifests in disassociation. You cannot be in your body and be in the midst of all of the negative densities and the different distortions that sit within the field. So that's where we start to disassociate from our being, because it's like, how can a child, how can an adult be in their physical vessel if it's unsafe to be in the physical vessel, because there's so much trauma or negative attachments, emotions, energy that is being taken from the outside world in the assistance without the full navigational process of how to move this. So what happens is the vessel itself does the transmutation with the disconnect from the spirit or the soul. And so that's where disassociation is helpful, as the physical body will start to purge it through stomach problems, through sickness, through different purging processes of the vessel to transmute that for the child and for the adult. So if there is a disconnect from the emotional body and there's an inability to transmute your own internal absorbency and clear your channel, your energy field, then your body will do it for you. Eventually what happens is the buildup becomes too challenging for the body to maintain within itself, and that's where we have more damaging illnesses. This is where manifestation of disease takes place. This is where such a physical pain becomes interfered and influenced with needing mainstream medical support because of not being caught at the core understanding. There are many different conduits that are here to bring through new information, new technologies and influences, and there are a lack of support in how these children can share their gifts and how to keep them safe from the internal conflict of expressing themselves in the way that they've come here. And there are there are awarenesses that are important to bring forth in teaching and guiding children to clear their own energy field and to learn protection and to stop taking on and absorbing the external environment. Many of these highly sensitive children will be taking on and healing unconsciously their parents' wounding, and they take on these energetic signatures, and what they do is they mirror them back to their parents. So there is a absorbency of parental trauma that takes place in the child, and what the child does on an unconscious level from a multidimensional expression is they mirror back the behavior that will trigger and bring forth the wounding of the parent to see. The challenge is that most parents don't have the tools to look at their own traumas and to self-regulate, and what happens is conflict and a further separation and a lack of awareness that a child is showing the gift of healing through their expression of what is within their internal experience. It is not up to our children to be mirroring back and taking on this energy to project and deflect back. So many children that are highly sensitive in any of these categories that you want to put them in will have a parent that is highly empathic and a parent that is highly narcissistic, and they are at the extreme poles of polarity to gift the child the understanding of the wounding of both the feminine and the masculine. These wounds are there as a guiding star to come into a central point of equilibrium by witnessing both extreme poles of disconnection. Now, why this takes place is there will be many different beliefs that are formed in a child on an unconscious level between the conception to age 7, and these belief systems are programmed into them through the observation of their experience. This observation takes place when they witness their parent that's in wounded victim, and then their parent that is in perpetrator and violator. And what happens is they will absorb both wounds in an unconscious level to create more peace and harmony, whilst also having these energies projected onto them and not having the capacity or the ability to clear their physical vessel. So if a child doesn't have the capacity to clear, what they do is they're formulating their identity based on the unconsciousness of their parents. And so in these beautiful poles, and if we can really understand that the masculine and feminine energies are showing you a middle way of truth, then you can see that if you were or are the parent that sits in the empath, victim, wounded, feminine energy, that there is a opportunity to see that your polar opposite, your narcissistic, controlling, abusive, masculine energy, regardless of whether or not you're male or female, offers you the opportunity to see the wounding that was there to be witnessed in the middle way. We are gifting ourselves this space of central alignment through these awarenesses. And perhaps those relationships has ended and you're in a co-parenting situation and you have a highly sensitive child that's sitting in a co-parenting situation. They are being offered the opportunity to learn through the mirrors that are in front of them. And one of those mirrors may be a highly disconnected and mainstream or unconscious perspective, and one may be a more highly conscious self-healing and personal development perspective, and neither are right or wrong. You're offering an option for a child to choose sovereignty. And so when you're working with children and when you're allowing children to start to find their own way, it's to understand that they are sovereign beings and they have sovereign choice, and to start to show them that they have that. And that is not to say that there are not borders, boundaries, respect, in where in the 70s and the hippie era that there was a lot of challenge and a lot of people that have grown up feeling unloved, because boundaries are an expression of love. Boundaries, healthy boundaries, are an expression of love, and children that grew up in that era felt like they did not have boundaries. They had free reign and they were not loved. They were not given the time, care, and the expression of truth that they required. And that is a generational wound that is there for many to look at in different ways from this more human lens of what we're going through collectively. But now we have an opportunity to see these from a higher evolved state of consciousness, and that our children are here to express themselves as sovereign beings. And how can you support them to understand that they are not controlled on any level of mind, body, or soul? And that includes that they cannot be controlled in their sleep, they cannot be influenced, fed off, and be in a state of being vampirized in their life force energy. And I say that from a place of love and from a place of trigger, that with sovereign choice and the ability to understand that when you return to your heart space, whatever age you are, if you are taught and you are guided into coming into a center point of connection with yourself, that there is no capacity and there is no taking of sovereignty. You cannot be controlled, you cannot be physically influenced, you cannot be projected on, because your heart center and learning to come into your heart is the clearing of the channel. It is the grounding technique. It is coming back into the body. And from all of those places, source works through the heart and it creates a force field of love and truth. And this is what allows our children to become sovereign in their expression, is learning how to come into that. Each child will have different ways. There are many children that are coming through with light language as a form of expression and communication that is being called gibberish, and rather than a tool to learn to express themselves. As you see with me in my current state of expression, there is much more need for me, due to the changes in my own brain's neural pathways and the cognitive expression of the ascension that I've just moved through, is that I am coming from a higher state of consciousness, yet my brain doesn't have the programming to decipher from the past reference points. The past reference points no longer fit the energetic stream of information that's coming through, and therefore there are many old thought forms that are still programs based in the brain that are causing a cognitive challenge in communication in the prefrontal cortex. And that's why during this expression there has been moments of pause, and light coding is because light coding is a clearing. It clears a space to receive information and truth. And we don't have to be able to be proficient in light language or light codes or gibberish or toning or communication in that way. There are many other ways. And so when we talk about from children, if you have a child that has anger outbursts and aggression, and they are maybe more autistic in the masculine side, or without labels, but if you want to find an understanding of, there is a level of projection in outbursts of energies and rage and anger, it's because there is a buildup of that energy, and to get that out, the only way to get it out of the physical body is to express it out and project it out and to be violent in whatever way. And that is a clearing. There are more healthy and beneficial ways to clear anger for a child, and that's learning to activate the dragon energy, the fire, the sacral charge, and to bring that heat up and to express it in a way where that energy can be moved out of the body, and whether that there are so many play-based ways of allowing a child's sovereignty in expression. And this is another moment where if you're a parent and you're shushing your child, if you're shushing your child, you're suppressing them. If you are telling them or diverting them out of anger into another expression, if you are guiding their emotions in a form that is not true for what they are currently experiencing, you are spiritually bypassing your own child's fullest expression. So in those moments, to bring focus and sovereignty and choice and love back into the being, what is required for that child, what is really there. And it's about asking yourself questions rather than presuming, expecting, trying to also avoid your own discomfort, because many parents are sitting in a place of helplessness and victimization of I don't know what to do. And that expression becomes a level of either not doing anything and not making any choices, and having lack of boundaries, and allowing different expressions to be what they will be because of a fear-based program that sits within the parent, or there is outbursts of a point. So what happens in the parent is an unsafety within their own body of, this is too much, this makes me insecure, I'm not safe, I don't know, I'm losing control, and all of the different internal narratives that come up that then end up being in an outburst of anger and expression onto the child to suppress them and to make them wrong and to shame them, so that there is an avoidance of seeing the own internal programs and the lack of comfort and safety within the own physical body. And if there is an awareness brought to how to navigate these internal distortions and misalignments, then there is a pragmatic, and always a pragmatic way to actually work with the individual and yourself in a way that is not hard. It's not hard, it's not challenging, it's the mind's over-conceptualization that it is a challenge to move through these different pieces. And it's an inability to see the internal pieces that are coming up to be witnessed as well. So when there is a discord with parent and child, it's because there is discords within both beings. It is not the child. And it is not the parent. It is the quantum entanglement. It is the belief systems. It is past life traumas. It is influences from external sources. There is a multifaceted understanding that goes beyond what you are witnessing with your eyes. What are you feeling, and what is happening in this sixth sense of expression that is available for self and other to heal together and to come into connection. In the connection, sovereignty returns. In connection with self and connection with child, there is a dissipation and a dissolving of density and heaviness, and the way comes through with ease. What else is relevant to express here? In the completion of sharing what I have, knowing that this is an extremely broad topic and that there has been many different moments of thought forms that may have triggered different streams of expression to further investigate within self and other and within your children. I would like to say thank you for sitting, watching, observing. If you felt as though this brought up something challenging within yourself, please be vulnerable and share in a place of being witnessed in an intimate acknowledgement of who you are and where you're at, and also the mirrors of what you're seeing within children. I am currently being called to assist in what is called distance or quantum healing surrogate sessions for children. That is learning to, the higher self of a child is very intelligent. So higher self children, we all have higher selves, sorry, but the higher selves of children are very willing to, if you're a safe being, and you're coming from a place of unconditional love and source truth, to work with you in a level of the quantum. And so what happens is there's a connection that is made in the ethers, and that relationship is built in trust, in an energetic space of hello, I'm Giaya, and there is a connection that is made on a higher self level. There is communication around different chakras, different beliefs, different pockets of consciousness that are dense. This can be done with parents that are sick. This can be done with any disabilities and lack of ability to communicate. This can be done with people that are not choosing consciousness, that are requiring distance healing. The quantum world of communicating to someone's higher self allows me to use my abilities, being that of a whatever label you would like to put me on. Using my abilities to read into the pockets of consciousness, to change the quantum field, to change the energetic resonance, to transmute it, to clear the dissensions, so that is the limitations, and then to bring in the codings of expansion or creation, the reconciliation piece. So there's a full cycle that happens in the mind, body and soul components of the Holy Trinity, and that will complete a core wound or a core distortion. And that also includes working with children in this space so that they can clear the different parasitic influences, entities, any distortions that are sitting in their consciousness that our parents and children are unaware of. This is also allowing for more sovereignty in allowing their bodies a little bit more ease, because their bodies are challenged in not knowing how to be with all of the different energies, and that's we're trying to work with the discontinuation of disassociation, so that people can learn to be in their bodies and be in their emotion. And embodiment for children is just as important as embodiment for adults. So in this, there are distant quantum healing sessions available for children. Most children, depending on their psychic abilities and their sensory abilities, can be cleared and worked on in a 30-minute period. In this 30-minute period, there can be many shifts, and we can only move through what their little bodies can cope with at a time. So sometimes it is multiple 30-minute sessions over a period of time for integration, because they don't have the cognitive awareness to know what's going on in their physical realignment. And that can sometimes bring up different pieces. So working with children is available in this space, and it is based on donation at this point. And that is what Spirit is guiding me to offer in the initial consultations in this this is just coming through for me now, right now. I didn't know what I was going to be offering. I know what I do offer, but I didn't know what this specific offering was going to be. Or on some level, I always knew. So 30-minute distant healing quantum sessions with highly sensitive children that are moving through some of these challenges based on a donation for the initial time of interaction, and that there will be some integration support that will be required, possibly, and some different processes gifted to the parent to assist in whatever your child is moving through. And then there is the possibility of doing divine devotion mentorships, which is a incorporation of parent and child, and that's based on the higher selves, spirit's guidance of what can be created in the benefit of all beings, and development of psychic gifts, as well as clearing the densities from the current physical experience. Any confusion, any questions, any lack of clarity of anything that has been spoken through into this space, I would love to have your comments dropped in the comment box below so I can answer them. There is never a stupid question. There is never a dumb question. All questions open to greater awareness, and there's always someone that's thinking exactly what you are. I love you. Have an absolutely beautiful day.